Scottish ministers say they would be open to the idea of international mediation to broker a deal with Westminster over Holyrood powers returning from Brussels. Here's our political editor, Brian Taylor.
Mike Russell demanded talks to rebalance power after the Commons voted to retain control for up to 7 years of key devolved issues like farm funding after Brexit.
Would the Scottish Government be open to some kind of international mediation process? Because it's very clear that at the moment the UK Government simply isn't listening.
Cabinet Secretary.
Yes, I think the Scottish Government would be keen to
Under questions, the Minister agreed that international arbitration might help, although he suspected that wouldn't suit the UK Government. He's right. UK sources ridicule the notion. Mr Russell said the row was another example of Westminster ignoring Scotland.
So here we are again, faced with one of the key problems that devolution was meant to solve, a dependence upon an archaic, out-of-touch Parliament run by a government which Scotland didn't elect and which thinks little and cares less for us. Westminster Groundhog Day.
Adam Tompkins.
But Tories fought back.
They are not the guardians of devolution, they are the would-be architects of its demise. They don't believe in the devolved United Kingdom, they believe in breaking up the United Kingdom. Indeed, presiding officer, that's all they believe.
Other parties at Holyrood backed demands for further concessions, but Labour voiced frustration.
Are we really going to accept a situation that two governments can't reach an agreement on fertiliser quality, educational qualifications, waste packaging and the rest? It's simply not good enough. Get it sorted.
Sharp words then, but over Brexit, still something of a blur. Brian Taylor, reporting Scotland, Holyrood.
The petrochemical giant INEOS has lost its legal challenge to have a ban on fracking overturned. Lawyers for the Scottish Government successfully argued that the ban hadn't yet come into force. That's despite ministers, including Nicola Sturgeon, previously saying the practice was banned. Our environment correspondent Kevin Keane is at Grangemouth for us tonight. Kevin, this is an increasingly complicated situation. Where does it leave us now?
Well, this is basically a victory for the Scottish Government on a technicality. For the ban to come into force, there is one final hurdle to overcome, and that's called an environmental impact assessment. Once that's completed, then that final decision can be taken. And so it was argued successfully, as you said, that the ban wasn't actually in force yet. It wouldn't come into force until that final decision was made. So it's certainly a win for the battle, but it's not a victory for the overall war. In all likelihood, if this final decision is taken, then INEOS will probably consider further legal action against that. But for the time being, the Scottish Energy Minister has insisted that there will be no fracking.
Pentland has set out that the government is entitled to set out, he specifically says in paragraph 53, entitled to set out in robust terms, without qualification, our interpretation or our position. And we repeat, no fracking can take place in Scotland today as a result of the actions we've put in place.
Well, environmental groups like Friends of the Earth Scotland have welcomed this ruling today. So too has INEOS, saying it actually brings clarification to the situation. They insist that they'll now begin putting forward planning applications for fracking. But as you heard there, Paul Wheelhouse saying for the moment and for the short to medium term at least, he insists there will be no fracking.
Kevin, thank you. A team of scientists has created a revolutionary way of finding out how old